So Caitlin Clark's Fever team, we're going to be talking about how bad are they actually here. Like, how bad is this team? Are they the worst team in the WNBA? Are they one of the 2 or 3 worst teams in the WNBA? Because there are 2 different versions of the Fever. There is the Fever that should have beat the Connecticut Sun, lost because of, not even lost, they could have went to overtime if Aaliyah Boston made the open layup. And not even before regardless of the open layup, they had the most BS defensive foul called. Like, they set a screen, the Sun set a screen and flopped. And then they challenged it and didn't change it. So that should have been a chance to win the game for Aaliyah Boston. Either way, they got robbed in that game. They got robbed in the game against the Sun. And the Sun are undefeated. And then obviously they beat the Sky. And the Sky are not a bad team. They're a tough out for anyone. Like, the Sky could go and beat the Liberty tomorrow. But then you've also seen them lose by 36 to the Liberty today. You've seen them lose by 36 to the Liberty at the start of the year. They've lost pretty badly to the Storm once. They lost pretty badly to the Aces. But there's... And then even like when they just let the Sparks light them up from 3. There are different versions of the Fever. And I'll be talking about what their strengths, what their weaknesses are. And just are they any good? One of their weaknesses is the coach. Christy Sides. Look, I don't hate Christy Sides as much as I did. I just don't think she's a very good coach. Fair play to her coming out. Like, I got a bit more respect for her when she ran onto the floor to make sure Caitlin didn't get chucked against the Storm. And took a technical foul for her. But she's just not a very good basketball coach. It is what it is. At the end of the day, I wish I could say she was this exceptional coach, but she's not. She's just not very good. She's just not very good at her job as far as, like, coaching a team that's meant to be at least decent is concerned. Caitlin Clark has shown that she is really good at things, and everything she's not really good at, she's really bad at. And that's where you've got to be, as a good coach, being able to play to a player's strengths and don't play to a player's weaknesses. The problem with Christy Sides is she tends to play to Caitlin Clark's weaknesses and puts a style of play in that doesn't show her strengths, but still plays her 33 minutes a game. Like, they're terrible with her. They're worse without her. So they go where Caitlin Clark goes. Regardless of the points for other players, regardless of her points, when Caitlin Clark is controlling the game, when she's running, when they're able to get out and she's there getting assists, when she's controlling everything, the Fever look good. When Erica Wheeler's at the 1 and Caitlin Clark's at the 2, they look terrible. When Kelsey Mitchell has the ball in her hands more than Caitlin Clark, even though Kelsey Mitchell's scoring okay, they look absolutely terrible. Nalissa Smith scores. She scores. When she gets the ball around the basket, it'll go in. She's very nice in the pick and roll, pick and pop with Caitlin Clark. She's their best roller / popper. And she is a good scorer, a good rebounder, an absolutely terrible defender. Like, she looks lost out there. Kelsey Mitchell's a terrible defender as well. And Caitlin Clark is a terrible on-ball defender, very good off-ball defender. To an extent. Sometimes she switches off on defense occasionally. But as far as just getting her hands in passing lanes, as far as like weak side blocks, because she is quite athletic. She is relatively athletic. She's got very quick hands. She is not... If Caitlin Clark was on a really good defensive team, you could find ways of hiding her, and she would get a lot of steals. She would get a couple of blocks. She would look like she's a better defender than she is, but on a really bad defensive team, being able to play passing lanes and stuff doesn't really matter because there's nowhere to hide. There's nowhere to hide her on this bad defensive team. So I will say she's not one of the worst defenders on the team, but she's not the greatest defender in the world. Faye Benley's a huge loss because she was the best center. She was the best big to play with Caitlin Clark because Faye Benley, whether it was a score or a stop, the ball would get inbound to Clark. Faye Benley would run, Caitlin Clark would hit her for layups. Whereas neither of Nalissa Smith or Aaliyah Boston run particularly well. And that's why, like, you were seeing how well Caitlin Clark was playing with Faye Benley. Obviously, Hannah Stolke's 2 more years in college, but like, even if you put a Hannah Stolke out there, it just helps Caitlin Clark. Like, that Iowa team was perfectly, like, it was perfectly tailored around allowing Caitlin Clark to do what she did well, But what Caitlin Clark did well allowed everyone else to do what they did well. It allowed Gabby Marshall to play defense and just shoot the ball. It allowed a Fulter to cut. It allowed Kate Martin to just do all the little things, which she's doing for the Aces, and it allowed Stulke to run, or Cesano to just kind of catch the ball around the basket, because Cesano has much better hands than any of the bigs on the Fever. The problem is that a style of play to suit Caitlin Clark doesn't suit the team, other than Faye Benley, and Caitlin Clark doesn't suit a style of play. I will say Caitlin Clark doesn't suit a style of play to suit the rest of the team, but there's no style of play that suits this team. They're terribly constructed. They're just not very good. And Christy Wallace is terrible. Like, genuinely terrible. She doesn't play defense. If she hits the rim on a 3-point shot, it's a success. She's shooting 23% from 3. She hit one today, but if she hits the rim, it should be a success. Samuelson, I know she lit up, was it the Storm in garbage time? I can't remember who it was she lit up in garbage time. She lit up somebody in garbage time. She hit a couple of shots against the Sky, but that was really it. She's okay. Grace Berger is not the answer. Everyone's saying that she was going to like be the X factor. I don't know if she's worse than Wheeler, but again, she's somebody that when a shot goes up and she hits the rim, it looks like it should be a good thing. Lexi Hull, I don't know why she plays so little. She looks like she plays a bit of defense. Not a great shooter. Not a terrible shooter either. Like, she's shooting 40% from 3, but half of her misses are off the board. And Dantas obviously hasn't played. Saxton doesn't play. Celeste Taylor doesn't play at all. Like, man, Chrissy Styles must think Celeste Taylor sucks. And to be fair, it's hard to see how someone translates, because Saxton wasn't bad in college either. But obviously she must be showing nothing. She must have been showing nothing for them. But the big thing is the regression in Aliyah Boston. And a lot of people might put the blame on Clark for that. But like, there are games where, like, there are times in the game when Boston's on the floor without Clark and she just doesn't look good. Like, she's fumbling the ball a lot. She's like missing rebounds when the ball's there in her hands. She's passing the ball pretty well. Like, you can tell that, like, IQ wise, she knows what she should be doing. It just seems like she's just not able to do it this season. I don't know if it's a knock in confidence. It could be one of those things where she's just exhausted, because she is trying to play her way into shape. So she probably is just exhausted. Because she looked really good at times against the Sky. She looked really good in the second half against the Sparks. So she's had moments where she's looked very good. But it doesn't change the fact that it's been a serious regression for her. Like, she led the league in offensive rebounds last year. She averaged 50 in a game. She led the league in field goal percentage as well. She's shooting 42% from the field on almost entirely layups. Like, she's shooting well from the line. Her and Caitlin Clark are shooting well from the line, but she's averaging 4.3 fouls per game. I don't know what the story is with Aliyah Boston, but like, hopefully after the Olympics, because she's gonna be with the Team USA. I'm not sure Clark will be. I don't think Clark will be. I don't think Reese will be either. I don't think any of the rookies will make the Team USA team, but Aliyah Boston will. So hopefully she's able to play her way back into shape for the second half of the season. And it's like, look, it's a write-off season. They're not going to make the playoffs. So at least if she comes back and has a really good second half of the season, then they go out next year, whoever their high draft pick is, and try to just make it work next year. If I'm them, I'm looking, like, if I'm the Fever, again, I think we've seen from the Sky game, we've seen from the game they won against the Sparks that, yeah, Aliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark can work together and win. They can. Their playstyles don't fit each other perfectly, but they can do it. Tammy Fagbenle, when she comes back, is going to be a huge asset. I genuinely do not see I don't see a reason for keeping Kelsey Mitchell. I know she scored well today. I know she scored well in general, but she does not pass the ball. Like, she doesn't pass the ball ever. And it's okay if it's like a Michael Porter Jr. situation where he doesn't ever pass the ball, but like most of the time he just gets given the ball, and most of the time people have to help off him. He gets given the ball wide open and he He very rarely has to dribble the ball more than once. He just shoots wide open and sometimes takes one dribble and drives to the basket. Like, he plays a very limited role. The problem is that Kelsey Mitchell never passes, and every time she touches it, it's dribble, 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 dribble. When she's open or just one dribble burning by someone to the basket, she's good. She's quick. She's quick. She's an explosive. She's athletic. She's good going to the basket. She's a good finisher. She stylistically is the worst fit for both Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston. She doesn't suit either of them. She is a me player, does not play defense. And even when she's playing well, I don't know how much she brings to the team. Like, she needs to be giving you 20 points to be worth having on the floor. NaLyssa Smith is fine. Like, you can hide NaLyssa Smith's defense because she does score the ball really well. She rebounds well. She's a much better defensive rebounder than an Aaliyah Boston. But again, she does not play defense at all. So if I'm them, I'm looking to see if you can pick up like a 3-and-D wing for Kelsey Mitchell. I'd be looking to trade Kelsey Mitchell just to get some sort of like defense there. There has to be a player that can help them out with that. People are saying, oh, they need more size. They need everything. They need everything. Like, if they got rid of Mitchell for some size, you're bringing size off the bench and you're guaranteeing Christy Wallace to start the game. It means you have to start Wheeler again. So it's just, they just need a lot. They need an awful lot. And they have a lot of just guards riding the end of their bench, previously decent draft picks. Like Lexi Hull was, I think, the 6th pick in the draft at one stage. Just see if you can get something of note for Lexi Hull. Heck, as I've said, Lou Lopez Seneschal. You could probably get Lou for... If you're not going to play Celeste Taylor, you could probably get Lou for Celeste Taylor. For Mitchell, you're probably not going to get a starter. But there are bench players on these other teams that will at least play defense and hit a wide open shot. And that's what they need. That's all they need is a 3-and-D player. They don't, as much as Mitchell's scoring, she gives up equally as much on the other end. They genuinely don't need her. And Erica Wheeler on that max contract, just let her run her contract out. Don't pay her to stay. But they should be building around Caitlin Clark and hopefully Aaliyah Boston. The worst part is Aaliyah Boston's been like their 4th best player this year. Maybe 5th best player. But the regression, I can't see the regression staying. She was so good as a rookie. I genuinely think she just underestimated the offseason. Probably got into worse shape than she should have in an offseason. I think she's going to be fine. So if I'm the Fever, I'm building around Caitlin Clark and Boston. I think an in-shape Boston is a good player to have. Is not necessarily a good number 2 option to have beside Caitlin Clark, but I think that an in-shape Boston with NaLyssa Smith, if they can find a good 3-and-D player to play just to guard somebody, then you've got... I think NaLyssa Smith can play the 3 with the way she shoots. You've got Faye Benlay when she comes back in the starting lineup, and that is a nice 5. That genuinely is a nice starting 5. Not an unbelievable starting 5, but it's a nice starting 5. And yeah, you don't have any bigs off the bench, but like you can rotate them in. Try maybe make another trade for another big, but they're like, they've talent. They have talent, but they have a coach they've not a very good coach, and they have a group of players that don't necessarily fit together. And I don't know if Caitlin Clark ever becomes a 25-point a game scorer, because it's very hard to tell how it's going to translate because of the high degree of difficulty shots and the fact she's been out of rhythm the whole year. But at the same time, Caitlin Clark is an exceptional run the floor point guard. So if you can surround Caitlin Clark with a team that will play defense, I actually think NaLyssa Smith, you can maybe hide her. You can, because of her length, you can maybe hide her out on the wing. You've got Faye Benlay and Aaliyah Boston who both play defense. You put another really good defender in there beside Caitlin Clark. You're getting more stops. You're able to rebound, getting the ball to Clark, outrunning. You've got Faye Benlay. You've got whoever that other player is, the 3-and-D wing, hopefully running with her, and Caitlin Clark going downhill. That is how the team's going to have success. In any other way, the team is going to struggle mightily with the players they have. Running through Aaliyah Boston in a half-court offense right now is not going to work. She's not good enough right now. Like, I don't know what it is. She is just not good enough to run through right now. Running through Kelsey Mitchell will lose you every single game for the rest of this year. And I will say that with confidence. If Kelsey Mitchell is the first option, and she is it, and they keep having Erica Wheeler dribble up the ball, up the floor, pass it to Kelsey Mitchell, let her go hezzy tween, and shoot up a dump shot, or sometimes get a high-low between Boston and Alyssa Smith occasionally. If that's what they want to run, they will lose every game the rest of the year. They will go 2-38. And the only chance this team has of being good is letting Caitlin Clark be the orchestrator. She doesn't have to shoot the ball. Let her be the orchestrator and focus on defense. Focus on defense and run. And run. Find glue guys and run. Heck, honestly, Kelsey Mitchell for Kate Martin. I know the Las Vegas Aces won't do it, but if you could somehow find a way to swing that deal, or a Kate Martin type player, it would be perfect. It would be perfect.